of a different video and a bit improvised as well. I've been meaning to do the video for quite some time, and the saws that you see here, I've had them in my possession for quite some time, but I never really found the time to put them in line with all other videos. And my channel is well, mainly focused on knives and a bit on axes as well. Not many other types of tools. Man, the mosquitoes are starting to wake up here. Anyways, I'm kind of late to this folding saw party. Silky has been around for ages. There are tons of videos on YouTube. Lots of really good videos showcasing, well, pretty much any and every model you can imagine made by Silky. My first folding saw by Silky was the Gomboy curved that I bought like, well, I don't know, probably, well, I don't know, let's say about 6 months ago or something like that, and I was pretty much blown away by the performance of the saw, which resulted in me getting some other models here in the, yeah, I will say that this is the Gomboy Curve Outback Edition, and I decided to go for the 3 current available models in the Outback series, which is the Pocketboy and the Bigboy. But as you can see, I have yet to even open up the packages, and the reason why there is an extra Gomboy here is that I wanted one spare blade for each of the saws. Mosquitoes. So that is the one reason, and they were out of extra blades for the Gomboy, so I decided to pick up an additional saw. But I do have just some spare blades available as well. Just thought I would show what they look like, sort of. So this is, well, I can say right away that I'm not really a big fan of the sheath here of the Gomboy, the plastic sheath here. I mean, sure, it's a good case when you're not really carrying the knife, etc. But it could have been improved in a lot of different ways, and I would probably have preferred it to be in leather or nylon or something else like that. Regardless, this is what the Outback Gomboy looks like. I could have cleaned the blade up a bit here. I've been using it quite a lot. It's still really sharp. Let's take a closer look here in the camera. So this is the Gomboy. I picked it because I thought it was a good middle way or middle size to go. Not quite as small as the Pocketboy, which could be perhaps too small but still have a good use, but also not too large like the Bigboy perhaps. Then again, right now I'm looking into getting my hands on a Katana Boy, the 500mm or the 640 or is the 650mm, which is quite a bit bigger. But for my first folding saws, this one seemed like a reasonable pick, and to be honest, that is exactly how I feel after having put this one to quite a bit of use during the last couple of months. This is a good all-around saw and size. That being said, sometimes you would perhaps want to go with something even smaller like the Pocketboy, or sometimes you might feel that you are lacking that extra bit of length there that the Bigboy provides. So something in between. I do think the Gomboy is probably their most popular model, regardless of if it is the Outback version or edition, or one of their more regular Gomboy versions. Man, the mosquitoes are everywhere right now. So let me put this one away for now, and then we can do the unboxing of the other 2 models together. So let's take a look here at the Pocketboy. Indeed a much smaller folding saw compared to the Gomboy, what does it say here on the package? Well, I mean, the blade length is 170 millimeters or 6.7 inches, and the teeth are 10 teeth slash 30 millimeters. So let's mosquitoes are seriously eating me alive. Let's take a quick look here. Let's break the box up here. Not gonna do any fancy unboxing or anything like that. Carrying case with a this is a like a small, well, pocket clip, perhaps. Let's break into the actual saw itself here now. Clean that up. So, quite a bit more portable compared perhaps to the Gomboy. So I mean, there's quite a bit of difference in size. So let's unfold it. I mean, it's not super small. I actually thought it would be or feel a little bit smaller than this. But this is still a usable size. Going smaller than this would really, limit the practicality and effectiveness of the cutting performance. So this is the Pocketboy. Well, let's put it back into the sheath for now, and then we can unbox the big boy. So this one I can see right away comes with a non-plastic sheath, more like some kind of textile, perhaps like nylon sheath here. So the big boy, this one has a blade of 360 millimeters or 14.2 inches, with teeth being 6.5 teeth per 30 millimeters. So let's just break it open, shall we? Stupid mosquitoes here. So this is nothing fancy at all, but very, very much more practical in my opinion than the hard plastic cases. So slowly but surely we are getting there. So now we are getting into the, well, definitely the larger sized Silky models. Yes, I know there is a Silky Katana that is 1000 millimeters blade length. So I mean, still kind of far away from that. Now we're gonna have to move back a bit from the camera. With this blade, you will definitely be able to do some real, heavy, or not heavy, but extensive sawing of pieces of wood that are quite large in diameter. This is not a small blade, then again it is called the big boy, so... But it's all relative. Go and search for the Katana Boy 650 or the Katana Boy 1 meter. That will give you some perspective. No need to unpack the additional blades or the additional Gomboy, since we've already taken a look at it. But this one will be interesting to put to good use. Yeah, I think that's it for the unboxing part. Now we should probably try to test them out a bit on some different interesting pieces of wood, both fresh wood and dry wood. I have some, usually I go with pine or birch, fir, but we're also gonna go with ROWAN this time around in this video. So I think it's gonna be quite an interesting video. Like I said, I am late to the party. A lot of people have already discovered the effectiveness of these Silky Saws. They are, I mean, it is true, you know, how well they perform, even though I've just tried one specific model. But I was kinda, you know, well, I felt like I should have joined that party a lot earlier. I mean, I love my knives, I love my axes, but there is no denying the practicality of a really good folding saw, that's for sure. So let's do some sawing next. I'm now in an area with a little bit less mosquito infestation, but I doubt I will be left fully alone. Anyway, let's start by putting the Pocketboy to the test, cutting this piece of, or sawing this piece of ROWAN. And I'm not really familiar with ROWAN in terms of sawing or working with axes or knives. I mean, well, an axe would go through this without a doubt, at least my axes. But let's see what this saw does. And this is freshly taken down, so we are gonna try on some other more dried pieces of wood. But let's just see how it performs on fresh wood for now. And this is actually not a really, you know, small. This is actually like, there's some thickness to this piece. Can't even grab my large hand around it. So yeah, that Pocketboy. And with the Silkies, they are pull saws, and you do not, you know, really apply any pressure. You let the saw do all the work and cutting, and that suits me well because I've been out kayaking for the entire day yesterday, so my arms are a bit fatigued, to be completely honest. But let's see what we can do here with this Pocketboy. And I'm not entirely sure if, you know, if these saws are best in fresh or dried wood, but I would think that they are better with, you know, dried wood. I think there are some specialist fixed blade saws from Silky for fresh wood used by arborists. We have gone quite a bit through where it is. Well, maybe we should do like that. Switch part. I could easily break this now, but yeah. So let's take a look here at the cut here. Really, really nice. Well, I did break it off here, so there is that, but just remove it like this. It is a really smooth, nicely cut surface here. And like I said, there is a bit of a diameter to this one. Same goes here. Pretty even cut. I mean, to chop this in half with an axe would require a bit more strength. To go through it with a knife, well, that would be a lot of work. I mean, after all, it is quite a small saw. Very light. There's no weight to it, pretty much. Quite effective for such a large piece of wood. Let's test out the Gomboy now on something a little bit larger than what we just did with the Pocketboy. So for a fair comparison, I'm using the very same tree, the same ROWAN tree here, just different parts of the tree. This one is, about the same thickness as the one we just did with the Pocketboy. But for this one, we're gonna go with this piece and a slightly thicker diameter piece as well. But let's try our best using the Gomboy this time around, utilizing a bit more of the length here of the blade. See if it makes a difference. We are pretty much through. It's just this very final part here. So that was pretty fast work, I would say. You could feel a difference in those extra centimeters or inches of length. Same nice clean cut, very even. Yeah, very nice job. Maybe we should go with the same piece here for the big boy as well, just to get some feeling of comparison. Yeah, let's use the same piece here. Give me 1 second. This is about the same diameter as well, but now we go big boy. And I will remind you again, this is the first time I used the big boy, as well as it was the first time using the Pocketboy. The Gomboy I am a bit used to. So let's go with this piece now here, using the big boy. And it sure feels a lot bigger than the Gomboy, no doubt about it. Mosquitoes. Yeah. So that was, of course, even faster than the Gomboy. Not that it took a long time with the Gomboy, it didn't take a long time with the big boy either. And we got the same smooth, very nice result here. Let's take a look at this piece as well. I mean, chopping this one in half with a nice axe would require a bit more effort, and it would probably take a little bit longer because it's not as practical as having this saw place thing here. I'm not sure what to call this in English. I know what it's called in Swedish, but not in English. Anyway, let's take an even larger piece of the ROWAN tree now. And we can start with the Gomboy and then use the big boy as well. We have now moved up quite a bit in size or diameter. This is a large piece of wood here. Let's see. I mean, this is very heavy. So let's start by putting the Gomboy here to the test. Now it sure feels, this saw feels a little bit smaller now, having used the big boy, also having a tree with a bigger diameter like this. But let's see how well it fares. So let's commence, I guess. Man, the mosquitoes. I call this the mosquito video. Here I really feel like the length is quite good. I wouldn't want to go with the Pocketboy for this size of tree or wood. Yeah, I mean we are pretty much all the way through. Let's see if we can... There we go. So with this size, I mean it wasn't a super exhausting work, but it sure was a little bit more work than the last piece. Once again, really straight, fine, smooth cut. We can compare this to the other pieces that we have done, just so you get a feeling of size difference. As you can see, there is quite a bit of size difference. This is heavy. Let's try this one with the Bigboy next, perhaps. Wonder if I can get it to be... let's go with... It's going to be slightly larger diameter for the Bigboy. Then again, it is a slightly larger saw as well. So let's move this piece. Then we bring out the Bigboy. This feels better. Not that it felt bad with the Gomboy, but this one, now I feel like, you know, it's sufficiently sized for the job. So let's go Bigboy now, shall we? Same part of the tree as we did with the Gomboy. My placement could of course have been slightly better, I guess. There we go. Whew. So once again, nice cut. Let's compare this with the piece we just took off. we can see. This is the piece we just took off, and this is the piece we took off with the Gomboy. This may look like it's rotten or something like that, but it's not. This is what the tree looks like. Splitting this in half with an axe would take longer, and you would not get as fine of a cut, of course. So there definitely is a place for folding saws. Let's go with the final part of the tree now. And I'm not sure that the Gomboy will be enough for that one. Time for the grand finale of the ROWAN wood tree. With this last part, I mean, it's heavy as hell. I'm not even gonna try the Gomboy, because I feel like, despite being, like I said, a semi-large blade or saw, I feel like the length there of the blade is insufficient of cutting this tree. Sure, I mean, if I really had to, I would be able to get it in half, but I feel like this is indeed a job for a saw like the Bigboy, or, I mean, even better, the Katana Boy if I had one. But let's go with the Bigboy now on this final piece of fresh wood. So this feels slightly better, but still, yeah, I mean, this should be pretty doable, absolutely. Would I have minded a slightly larger blade for this? Not at all. I mean, that would have been quite nice, actually. But this is what I have at hand. And I am getting a little bit, not really fatigued, but, you know, I'm not getting stronger and stronger and fresher for each piece that I saw up here. So maybe I should have started with the biggest one. Anyways, let's take a go at this. It will be very interesting, I believe. So maybe I should have put it slightly. I'm gonna adjust it just a tad bit here if I have the strength for it. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Yeah, slowly but surely. You know, I'm not super fatigued or super tired, but it still requires a little bit of stamina. I would prefer it to not break the blade. Okay. So, smooth cutting surface. Quite large diameter. Yeah, I mean, chopping this one in half with an axe would of course have taken longer and would have not have been at all as fine of a cut. Whew. Now I am really curious about the Katana Boy. But let's take a look here. Ah, shit. This is pretty heavy. Quite a bit of a diameter. I mean, the thickest one we did before this one was this piece, and that is a bit of a difference, right? Just to get a sense of the sheer size. And I mean, the first piece we did was this one, and this still has, you know, a fair diameter, but compared to this one, I mean, it's a bit of a difference, right? Yeah. Let's remove this piece now. So let's yeah, I should find a better place to put the sauce now, so we can do some talk about the performance. I do think that the video kind of speaks for itself. Hopefully. Let's change the camera angle a bit here. I almost forgot that we were supposed to do some dry wood sawing. So here I have some dried up pine, I believe. So let's see how that one works out. Yeah. And the diameter is, well, something like this. So, now I am starting to get a bit sweaty. So this is the dried pine, kind of clean as well. Using the big boy. Here we have a slightly smaller piece of pine that we can go with the Gomboy. So this is the diameter of this piece of pine. Dried pine at that, instead of going with fresh. Made pretty quick work of that dried up pine. So here we have a slightly smaller piece of dried up pine, and we have the Pocketboy. So let's go ahead with that piece now, shall we? Come on here, little mosquito. I did not get it. So, Pocketboy, dried pine. Yeah, pretty clean cuts once again. So you can take a look at all the different sizes here that we did. Let's see. So this was what we did with a big boy, that kind of diameter. This is what we did with the Gomboy. And this is what we did with the Pocketboy. So I'm now out in an area in the woods where they have removed quite a lot of trees, most of them pine. And there are some leftover pieces, about this size. So let's see if we want to, if I was out now and wanted to make some well, firewood, or make it into smaller pieces and then baton through with a knife, or split with an axe. So let's turn this piece of wood into slightly smaller pieces of wood, shall we? So we can start with the thinner side here, and using the folding saw I have in my pocket, so the small Pocketboy. So let's see how that would work out, and I'm gonna use this as my, well, let's call it my cutting board, perhaps. So that's really clean cut. Took mere seconds. Maybe I should have adjusted the camera a bit. Should I do that? Yeah, I think I will actually. Give me just a few seconds. think this will provide a slightly better angle. So let's go from here perhaps. Where did I put the last piece? Ah, doesn't really matter. Okay. Quite, you know, effortless, comfortable grip, good size. It's getting a bit thicker, you know. Doesn't require much more work. So, in quite fast time, we got some really nice sized firewood. And if we wanted to make some more, you know, Kindle-like, well, now we have excellent pieces to baton through here. Either once or twice, making 4 pieces or 2 pieces. That is why it is, you know, a good companion tool to an axe or to a knife. Really, you know, nice, smooth, effortless, practical work. And you know, the size, it's so small, weighs very little, does great job. Pocketboy. So there were also some slightly larger pieces of pine left here in the woods. So I thought we could try them with the Gomboy. I will say that we could have gone with the Pocketboy as well, but it's nice to let the Gomboy have some action as well. And to give you a comparison of the, you know, the thickness of the diameter of this one, this was, you know, these were the pieces we did with the Pocketboy, the thickest one being this one. And comparing this size by size, so there is going to be a bit of thickness difference. That being said, the Pocketboy would go through this as well. But let's, you know, just for the sake of it, let's let the Gomboy do some work. But I'm gonna go from thinner to thicker part here as well once again. So let's see. Let's remove this part first. And the difference here once again is also that we do have the curve of the Gomboy compared to the straight edge of the Pocketboy, as well as the Bigboy, because the Bigboy is straight, right? I do believe so. So let's proceed. trying to utilize as much of the edge as possible. Otherwise we could just have gone with the Pocketboy pretty much. So let's put that one there. We're gonna put them aside. It's gonna run out of space. And we're getting some really nice, smooth, clean cuts. Oops. I'm gonna remove what looks like a foot portion here. Amputation. Well, it's actually now that I mention it, I'm not gonna saw off a foot, but this saw is supposed to saw through bones pretty well, but that is not something I'm gonna try in my video here. So. This felt a bit different or harder, perhaps. Stronger part of the stick or twig. So now we have some nice pieces here for, well, for firewood, perhaps. And I mean, these pieces, if they are kind of large in diameter and in size, well, not perhaps in length, but in diameter. But these pieces are now a lot easier to baton through, using either an axe to just split them, or a knife to baton through in like 2 parts, 4 parts, whatever, you know, how many parts you want to make them into. And I mean, they will stand quite nicely due to the straight, well, they might be a bit imbalanced still due to the overall shape, but they will semi-stand at least, maybe with a little bit of help. Come on, you little... Well, regardless, some will stand, others may not. Let's toss these away. We can perhaps stand some of the ones we took with the Pocketboy. They are balanced enough for it. Oh well, I mean, you get the general idea. Regardless, you should stand. Yeah, and then we just, you know, split them. I'm not going to use the saw for any splitting because that is one of the areas where the saw doesn't excel, you know, making these into smaller pieces. That is the job of a knife or an axe. Easiest would be an axe, but a knife, I mean, batoning is not that hard. But now, thanks to both the Gomboy and the Pocketboy, we made some nice pieces of firewood, and we made it in some really good time. And more importantly, it didn't require much of an effort really to make all this. And even more importantly perhaps, carrying these tools was not very, pushing, because they're light tools compared to like a heavier axe or a similar large knife. This folding saw is quite light, both the Gomboy and the Pocketboy. And I also feel like, using the pocket saw here is a pretty safe option. I mean, you're not very much likely to hurt yourself when sawing these pieces of wood. So I would say it's a pretty safe tool to use as well, and comfortable as well. We're not gonna try the Bigboy on the pieces that were left over here, because there really is no need to use the Bigboy making firewood pieces in this size. It's just it's overkill, really. You won't save many seconds. In fact, it might be more troublesome almost using a larger saw for that, I would say. I am still in that very area, in the outskirts now, where a lot of trees were taken down. And this tree right in front of me, well, I can't really reach the top here because the camera is on a tripod. But this tree is very much dead. You will see it when I take it down. Because take it down I will. And now we can get some time to use the Bigboy. There's also a tree up there, a birch, that is, well, it's more like a third or like 25% left of the tree, but we can remove that part as well. But for now we're gonna start with this piece. There's also, as you can see, a fir in the background that has been taken down. We can also saw up a little, maybe do some branching, but we will start by taking down this tree using the Bigboy. There's always, not always, but there's also a piece of down tree here. Remove that for now. So let's take this tree down. And since it is, it's not very wide, we could possibly take this down even with the Pocketboy, definitely with the Gomboy. But I do want to, give the Bigboy some screen time as well. So let's go ahead here, shall we? Once again, trying to utilize the full length of the blade. Oops. I could probably push the tree down already, but we're going to do some more saw strokes. And there we go. And I went with sort of an angle here when I took the tree down. Not sure how well I should. Well, you can't really see it, but there's a bit of an angle going here. Because normally I would have stopped sawing a little bit before actually going through the entire piece, and I would have pushed over the tree, which would have been slightly safer. But like I said, this is not a really large tree, and wasn't any, really risking anything. And here we have the stump left. We can actually, let's move the camera a little bit closer. So here we have the tree stump. You can see the angle going here a little bit, but we can remove it even further down now. Let's see. pretty nice cut that when you go through, the piece still stands. That means it was a pretty, you know, nice and even cut. Not that bad, I would say. Maybe we should bring out the Gomboy and just go through this piece. Or wait, not the Gomboy, the Pocketboy. Let's do that. So, Pocketboy time. It is, I mean, looking at the diameter and the blade, yeah, I mean, this could have worked when we took down the tree. Absolutely. Would have taken a bit longer and you would have felt slightly more limited. But it would have worked. So, yeah, once again we made some nice firewood that we could batoon through or split and, you know, get some really decent pieces to start a fire with. I guess we could go with Gomboy as well on one of these pieces, or not one of these, but on this remaining piece. So let's go Gomboy now. Yeah, I mean, that extra length is actually kind of nice. And the recurve, or not recurve, the curve also works really nicely. So, I mean, yeah, the Pocketboy will do the job, but the Gomboy will do it in a nicer way. No doubt about it. So let's saw some other stuff up. We have that birch that I talked about, and we also have the fir down there, and yeah, I'm just gonna saw this piece off just because it's kind of fun. Yeah. So let's head over to our next area. Oh wait, before we do that, I just want to show you the top of this tree to show you that it wasn't, you know, the best feeling tree in the woods here. This is what the top looked like. So it was very much not doing okay. So I find these later. So I checked that birch out, and it's pretty much rotten, so we won't be using that as a test subject. But we do have this fir here that we can definitely do some work with. Perhaps doing some branching to begin with. And doing branching here, I think I'm gonna go with Gomboy to begin with. Or well, not to begin with, but I think I'm gonna go Gomboy all the way. Yeah. So let's see how it fares. I will say that, you know, this one does remove a lot of the twigs here and semi-effortless even. But this is the kind of work that I really do prefer to do with either an axe or a medium or medium large size knife. But I mean, obviously it will delimb this fur. And you know, pretty, yeah, we didn't take a look at the cuts here, but the cuts are pretty clean cuts. Perhaps not, you know, some of them are not as fine as a clean cut with an axe or a knife, but that is of course to be expected. Am I still in the camera? Perhaps. But I will say that it is indeed a, you know, safe tool to use. You know, swinging an axe. I mean, an accident can happen with a knife as well, or machete. But this one is perhaps slightly more safe method. So, we have now delimbed the fur all the way down. Well, I'm not even in the camera anymore, but a long part of the fur has been delimbed using the Gomboy. We could have just as easily used the Bigboy. You would have gotten some extra reach. But you don't need to utilize that many teeth when cutting the limbs off, or the twigs, because the diameter is, you know, well, it's not the biggest diameter. We could also have used the Pocketboy, but I think the Gomboy was the best tool for the job. Let's perhaps let us split it up in some different sections. We can do the Pocketboy over here, where it gets slightly thicker. We can go Gomboy, and at the more wider part down here, we can go with the Bigboy. But once again, I mean, this diameter of this fur isn't that wide, so we could have, you know, used the Gomboy for the entire piece or the Pocketboy for a lot of the piece. But yeah, this is how we're gonna do it now. So I'm gonna move the camera down a bit so we can go with the Pocketboy at the less wide part. So we are now, you know, closer to the top part of the fur, and that is where we're gonna use the Pocketboy. I'm not sure if the branches here can be seen, but maybe we can do some really small debranching as well using the Pocketboy here. So just to, you know, show that it is indeed possible. Is this visible in the camera? Sure. Well, like I said, I mean, the diameter is not very large, so I mean there's no need for a super long saw edge to do this work. Anyway, let's cut this in half now. Not a lot of work. Let's do like this and do some additional branching again here, one-handed. So now we've got some branching in as well. Can remove this part. So that was some work with the Pocketboy. Make one extra here. And as always, no pressure. Let the saw do all the work and you will get some really nice results. Really nice firewood piece. Go with it whole, split it, batoon it. Just don't use the saw for that. So let's switch tools now and go to a wider part and use the Gomboy. So, slightly wider part of the fur and Gomboy at hand. So let's do this. Once again, no pressure, let the sharp teeth do the work. Really, really nice, smooth, clean cut. So, I mean, if I had an axe or a knife to chop this through here, I would have, it wouldn't have been super tough, but it would have required quite a bit more stamina or strength, and you would of course not get these fine, clean cuts that makes for, great batooning or splitting wood. And I've said it before, axes and knives will weigh more than this or the Pocketboy, well, or the Bigboy for that matter. But this tool does not replace an axe or a knife. Important to keep that in mind. Let's take off this piece as well here. Yeah, once again, really nice piece of wood. So let's go to the final part using the Bigboy on the widest part of the fur. So we are now at the bottom widest part of the fur. I didn't remove some of the twigs here, but Doesn't really matter. So this will have to do. So let's go around here, I think. Yeah, this would be good. Oh wait, maybe that's not in the camera. You know what, I'm just gonna go here. And I'm utilizing a two-hand grip. Not because I need extra strength, but because it's actually comfortable using two hands with this saw. And that went really, really fast, I've got to say. Surprisingly fast. And once again, a really, really good, clean, smooth cut. Remove some twigs and sticks here. Then we can go for this piece as well. Or here perhaps. Yeah, I mean, totally, completely effortless. Cuts through the wood like a laser. Splitting this in half with an axe would require quite a bit more work. And now we can just place it and use an axe to split it into a suitable sized firewood piece. Or batoon through it. Or if you already have a really good fire going, this could actually be used directly on that. Yeah, quite a nice experience, I've got to say, by the big boy. And this is what makes me curious to try out something like the Katana Boy, the 500mm version, or the 650, or even the 1000mm version. I think I stated it before somewhere in this video that I'm not really sure when I would, bring with me a Katana Boy, but I still would like to own one just to, try it out. But I feel like I can do, most of the heavy work with this particular saw. But if I were to, build my own log cabin or something, well then perhaps I would bring something slightly larger. Or perhaps a chainsaw. That would maybe be a good idea. But chainsaws, they are for work. Hand saws, they are for, well, not only fun, but partially fun. Axes are definitely for fun. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're gonna do next. Maybe this is the last segment of the video. I have been sawing quite a lot, I've got to say. Could be time for final thoughts and conclusion. So I have decided that it's now time for the final thoughts and conclusion. Even though it is a lot of fun to record these sawing segments, I feel like it's, we don't want a video that is, well, hours upon hours long. So let's try to conclude some thoughts here. Not sure which end to start with. First off, the plastic cases here. I am not a big fan of them, and I don't really care, much for the belt solutions or pocket clips, etc. It's just, semi-good storage when the saws aren't in use and when you're not, really carrying them with you. But I would prefer something that comes like with the Bigboy, something in, nylon or textile material. Then again, there is no real carrying system with this sheath. There is this ring part here, which you can put a cord or something on. But aside from that, I do think they did it better with like the Katana Boy, which you can just put over your back and carry with you. So enough talk about the sheaths done. So, the saws themselves. What I like about the Outback series, and once again, this is the only saws from Silky that I have any real experience with. But what I do like about them is that the sizes feel, it really feels like there is a good ladder of steps, so to say, that with, let's bring them all up here actually. With the smaller one here, the Pocketboy, it really is a knife that fits in your pocket. It is a small, handy folding saw. Great Argos materials, etc. And the step up, it's not just, a minor step up or that you can't, really notice the difference or anything. It really is, you feel like, yeah, this is a step up. It's not a giant folding saw, but it is like, small, medium, and then large. They feel, well balanced in terms of proportions, in both in blade length and of course, the overall length of the saws. So I do feel that they, they thought it over when they discussed the different size of saws. Let's take a closer look here, like large, medium, and small. This is what it should look like. Distinct differences that feel well thought out. In terms of ergonomics, I've been using gloves the entire time when I have done my sewing here, but I could have skipped the gloves. I could definitely have done that. It's just that I'm kind of used to using gloves when working with both axes and knives. Not that it's necessary with axes nor knives. But I do like the material, the feel of the curves and the design and everything. Usually, in terms of ergos, Silky, they do make a lot of fixed blade saws, or fixed saws, do you say that? Yeah, just fixed saws, that are perhaps in some sense more ergonomical, utilizing more of a, what should we call it, like a pistol grip or something like that. And I mean, some people do say that it isn't really fair comparing a foldable saw to a fixed saw, and I guess there is some truth in that. Then again, I mean, with a saw like this, the Bigboy, you get a good two-hand grip using it, which you might not always get with Silky's fixed saws. I also feel like their fixed saws are more purpose-built or more specialized tools, perhaps for people that are in the woodworking industries, like arborists, etc., that need, really specific saws for the work they do when they do like certain branching, delimbing, cutting, or whatnot. But I am tempted to pick up a few of the fixed blade saws, and I also know that for most, well, if not all of the fixed blade saws, they do come with holsters to them, or holster sheath for them, making it, I guess, easier to access take up and to take down. You attach the sheath, the holster to your leg, so you have easy access. Then again, I mean, if you're out, bushcrafting or shelter building or just, out in the woods, then a folding saw is perhaps a smarter design to go with than a fixed blade saw. So what more can we talk about? Curve versus straight. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is a reason why they went with a curve for the Gomboy, for example, and a straight edge for the Pocketboy, maybe because you need well, I guess you just need a longer blade to really utilize a curved edge. Then again, I am not an expert in saws. I'm just a happy user of them. And so what more should I say? I have been talking throughout the video that a folding saw is not a replacement tool to an axe or a knife. It is a companion tool. The saw is not supposed to replace nor the axe nor a knife, but they do work well together in different situations. And I sometimes feel like the saw is the safer option from a user standpoint. You should be less prone to accident, etc., using a saw compared to an axe or a knife. Then again, I mean, these are razor sharp tooth here on the saw, and I mean, you are supposed to be able to saw bones with this saw. So that says, something about it, and the wounds you would get from sawing into a leg or an arm or finger, I mean, it's not the nicest cuts, if I put it like that. Cutting yourself with an axe or a knife, well, I mean, if it is a sharp knife or axe, will give you a pretty fine cut that will heal nicely. But a saw will, tear up your skin, and that is not something I would recommend. But this one feels, like I said, safe to use, feels safe to open, feels safe to close. You really need to mess up if you hurt yourself during those specific moments. In terms of durability, these saw blades, I'm not sure how hardened they are, but I know that they are quite hard. So I would not, really bend them or test my luck too much, because that would risk in them breaking. And should you break it, then it is easy to remove the blade and replace it with a replacement blade. So I mean, in a survival situation, would I want a saw or a knife or an axe? Well, I mean, the saw would be good, to save some stamina, not getting, really fatigued. But if you, I mean, it is the most fragile option. I mean, compare this with an axe or a knife. This has more, moving parts. Well, unless you're going with a folding knife, but I can't fully understand why anyone would pick a folding knife in a survival situation if you could only pick one tool. But anyways, but like I said, it is a really good companion tool, and I am quite happy that I found out, or not found out. I've known about Silky for quite some time. I've known about other alternatives. I just never pulled the trigger. Maybe because I haven't been much into shelter building and those parts of the bushcrafting segment. But just preparing firewood, etc. I mean, it is a nice option. I will definitely bring these out a lot in winter. I mean, winter time, autumn and winter is when these saws will see the absolute most use. Now we are in the middle of summer, it's August almost. But I wasn't going to make this video during the summer from the get-go. This was supposed to be made in, well, at least 6 months ago or something like that, so I'm a bit behind schedule. I do have a lot of stuff coming up, and my baby do take a lot of time, which I am quite all right with. What I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna head back home and I'm gonna clean up these saws. Taking care of them is of course a vital aspect. I'm not quite sure how I would sharpen them. No experience sharpening saws, but I am sure it's a skill that I can learn. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some ballistic oil and just clean them up a bit so they are in good shape. I doubt I will need to do any sharpening in the near future, partly due to the hard treatment of the blade that I spoke about earlier. So I'm not sure if there's anything I've forgotten to mention. From a price perspective, I'm not sure what these are priced in different parts of the world, but here in Sweden they're priced pretty fairly. I think, well, I can't remember the prices on top of my head, but I feel like they are worth every penny, you know, given the material and just the overall quality you are getting. Really, really good tools. Otherwise I wouldn't have made this video, and all I can say is that I really wish that I would have joined this party like, well, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago perhaps. Would have been nice. But I do have a lot of nice axes and knives now, so maybe it's a good thing as well that I waited so long. I do have a feeling you will see more Silkies on the channel, but I don't have any on order right now. But I wonder if I'm not gonna get myself a regular katana boy, just because that would be kind of cool. Or not cool, it would be fun. That is what it would be. So I guess that's it for my first ever saw video on my channel. Hope you enjoyed it.